What's good, YouTube? This is Ken Demetrios, and I'm back with another episode of Next Gen Combat Sports TV. So, we just recently seen the big fight between Naoya, the Monster Inoue, and Stephen Fulton. And while that was a good fight, and some might say a better fight, I think that the biggest fight of this year is going to be the one that we got coming up this weekend. And that fight will be the fight between Earl the True Spence and Terence Crawford. So in this video, I'm gonna just be trying to break down what I see, and then I'll give my prediction. So this fight between Earl Spence and Terence Crawford has been marinating for the last 5 years or so. Everybody's been wanting to see it. Everybody's been having a big opinion about how it's gonna go, who's gonna do this, who's gonna do what. And personally, I think it's a good fight. I think it's a really good fight. I think this is gonna be my generation's Tommy Hearns versus Sugar Ray Leonard, and maybe a Marvin Hagler versus Leonard, or hopefully not Marvin Hagler versus Tommy Hearns, because Tommy Hearns got cooked. You know, some people say, "Oh, it was a good fight." No, Tommy Hearns got cooked. You know, so, and that's why we ain't seen no rematch. But anyway, back to this generation. You know, so you know, first I'll start with Bud. So Bud, he is a master boxer puncher. You know, Bud, he has the angles that he can hit you with certain punches is just ridiculous, and he just has these long arms to where, you know, even though he was at like a quote unquote size disadvantage, because he's filled in very well at welterweight. Some people say like, oh, he too light in ass. That's what Errol Spence told him. He said, "Boy, he too light in ass for me." But you know, at 135, he was more of a lankier. He had a big frame, but you know, he was just lean and kind of lanky. But you know, he's been an elite fighter ever since then. And now moving up to welterweight, he stopped every welterweight he's been in the ring with. So, you know, that is a pretty impressive feat, and it's kind of crazy because it's almost like he's increasing his strength and punching power as he's moving up in weight. He has very good footwork. He uses the ring very well. When he wants to, he uses his jab very well. Sometimes he doesn't. It depends on what stance he's in. I feel like he uses his jab better whenever he's in an orthodox stance, as a range finder, and kind of like stabbing to the body to make sure he maintains that distance and keeps you measured if you're more of a come forward fighter. But in his southpaw stance, which is the stance I believe he's a better fighter in, he used that lead hook like crazy. Like that lead hook is dangerous in his southpaw stance. And as you can see from how he had Kell Brook punch drunk with a damn Bruce Lee on his like, to this day, I can't watch that knockout and be like, how did he hurt you that bad with that? It didn't even like he put nothing into it, but Kell Brook was leading forward, and he kind of like, you know, ran into it. But yeah, back to Terence Crawford. He uses his footwork very well. He has a very good awareness of like where he is in the ring, and he never really gets put in bad positions. And even when he does, he can pivot out, he can change angles, and he can just get to a more comfortable position for himself. So yeah, that's I'm not gonna say that's pretty much it. Well, also with Terence Crawford, he is not afraid to get into a firefight, which could be to his detriment sometimes. He can get caught up in, you know, some big trading fights. You know, he'll get in 50-50 exchanges, and 9 times out of 10, he has the speed and the power to, you know, once he clip you, he can really get you up out of there. But at the same time, if he gets a little too overzealous, sometimes he gets caught a little bit, as we saw in the Mean Machine fight, or when he was boxing back and forth with Gamboa. But those are different styles of fights though, and it's crazy because it's like I'm a fan of Terence Crawford, but I'm not like a Terence Crawford fanboy, like, oh, he the best ever. You know, I'm not like that. But it just kind of sucks to see like how some people will try to like nitpick his resume and like nitpick certain fights he's had. Like, for example, Gamboa, when people don't realize, like, back then, Gamboa was an animal. Like, he was small, but he was one of the quickest, fastest fighters, and he had good power, you know. And depending on who you're fighting, sometimes an opponent being smaller can be a disadvantage. Like, if you look at Tank is a lot of times a smaller guy, but he can use that to his advantage. He can get up under shots, and he can unleash those powerful uppercuts. So, it's just a different type of fight. So, yeah. So, but Terence Crawford does have the wherewithal and the boxing IQ. He can really fight from anywhere. I would say that his weakest point may be his inside game. It's to me, it seems like a lot of times when an opponent gets really close on the inside, he kind of wants to pivot out and get back more to that mid range, or he wants to, like, grab on a little bit and then let the referee step in and do his thing and break him up so he can get back to boxing like he wants to. But like I said, Terence Crawford, he is a master boxer puncher. I think him and Inoue are the best boxer punchers in the sport. I think they both have some of the best timing in the sport, some of the best counter. Yeah, and that's one thing also. He's a very elite counter puncher, to the point to where sometimes he kind of doesn't want to engage as much because he's waiting on you to make a mistake. But at the same time, when you're so precise and when you're so methodical about how you work, you can do that. And then in the meantime, you can box and move your feet to get to where you want to be. So, yeah, so that's pretty much it with Terence Crawford. I'm sure there's more, but we can cover it, whatever. But so then now we move to Errol Spence. Now, I'm not going to lie. I've never been too big on Spence. I feel like, especially when you get down to the pound for pound conversation, it's hard for me to like really have a guy who's been in the same weight class his whole career and have him really help out on the list unless you're just beating the absolute dog crap out of these opponents. And to be honest with you, Errol Spence kind of does. He definitely kind of does that. But when you actually look at the skill set of Errol Spence, he's kind of, I don't want to say basic or like one-dimensional, but he's kind of like an up and down fighter. He's kind of like what you see is what you get. There's not too much nuance to his game. But at the same time, I do feel like one thing I do think about Errol Spence is I think his boxing IQ is underrated. Like you might have 3 methodologies of attack or like 3 strong points in your game. But if you got the wherewithal and the mental aptitude to, shuffle those 3 strategies really quick and at a really high pace, that can be a lot for your opponent to deal with. Because even though they might be expecting one thing, if you're able to go back and forth between all of those different phases of your game, that can really mess with their mind and have them guessing a lot. So I think that's one thing that people really sleep on with Errol Spence. I think his mind is better than a lot of people think, because even though he has the pressure, even though he has the size, even though he has the strength, he is, he's a good boxer. He might be basic or he might be one-dimensional, but if you look at basketball, Zion Williamson is pretty one-dimensional. He's gonna get the ball, he's gonna drive to the basket, he's gonna do a jab step, he might do a spin move. But when you're facing such a physical specimen, sometimes you can know what they're gonna do, and there's still nothing you can do to stop it. So yeah, one thing about Errol Spence that he does have, some people think that Terence Crawford got a better jab. That's cap. And I don't say that because like Errol Spence just got this elite masterful jab, but how he utilizes his jab is better than how Crawford utilizes his jab. And his is more consistent and it's a stronger jab. And he kind of uses that to kind of probe his way inside. And once Errol Spence get inside, you better have a bad day. It's not going to be fun. And that takes me to my next point, is inside game, with Errol Spence, man. And, it's dirty, it's trench work, it's gritty, like if you're a pure boxer, like if you're a fan of the pure boxer style, you look at Errol Spence and the whole time just be your face. You're like, hey, oh my God, like he doing him dirty. Like he got his, I'm talking about head in your chest, I'm talking about elbows framing you, like pushing you back, like just digging, and just ripping shots to the body. And the thing about it is, you might say like, oh, everybody can do that, everybody can fight inside. It's like, no, you can't. Because another thing that kind of combines into the inside game is your physical strength and your presence and your pressure. When someone is leaning against you like that, it's hard to return fire. It's hard to get good leverage on your shots. So even if you can fire back, you might not have as much power as someone who's leaning on you and then winding from back here and then just ripping, So that's I think that's the strongest point of Errol Spence's game. Just once he get on the inside, he just hitting you with everything and the kitchen sink. They say everything but the kitchen sink, but he hit you with everything. And one thing that is very pivotal to his game is, his backhand, his back straight left. And a lot of times he goes to the body, or once he gets inside, he kind of wants to throw more of an uppercut. But especially in that Chris Algieri fight. And I told my grandpa about this because, you know, my grandpa's real big on Terence Crawford. He thinks he's the best in the sport right now, and I don't blame him. I got him. He's definitely top 3, no matter how you want to spin it. But one thing he does need to watch out for is once Errol Spence got you guessing to the body, then that's when he come up top. And everybody say like, oh, you know, Crawford got better power than Spence. Crawford got better power than Spence. And I'm not sure he has better power, but when you can place your shots, and that's another thing I forgot to mention about Crawford, he has very elite punch placement. And like I said, he can kind of place his shots from the wildest angles. Like he can lean back and come with like a downward motion, like overhand / hook that you might not even see coming, like catch you coming inside after you know threw a dumb shot. So yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't think really. I mean, he might have better power, but I just think that he got better placement because Errol Spence, them shots is hurting. You know, he might not take you out in one shot, but it's just a matter of, you know, that's just not where his best skill set is. But I do think he has very good power, and it's also a type of power that kind of beats you down. Like Terence Crawford, I don't really see him breaking his opponents down as much. It's like, I'm not saying like he don't land and he doesn't like, you know, build momentum, but I feel like whenever I'm watching Terence Crawford, he more so beats you up, and then as he's fighting, he kind of finds that shot just to hurt you really bad. But with Errol Spence, it's just kind of like a consistent, grueling beatdown that, you know, as the fight goes on and as he builds that momentum, you know, putting that beatdown on you, it's like he kind of like, just like he said, you know, he said, I'm going to break your spirit. He said, because I'm going to break him. So we're gonna see if he can break Crawford, but it's gonna be a good fight for us, definitely. But yeah, so you know, with Spence, and I think Spence's footwork is kind of slept on. You know, he might, and you know, he is robotic. You know, he kind of teeters a little bit, and he kind of like give those little hops, and he kind of like, you know, but at the same time, that's what he got. That it works for him. Like, if you look at LeBron James kind of move robotically sometimes. LeBron James ain't got the best handles in the world, but he know how to get to the spot where he need to score, and he's the best player ever, in my opinion. So, you know, that's another thing. And also, a big factor that I think is going to play a pivotal role in this fight is the fact that Errol Spence, he is so hard to hurt. Like, I've seen Errol Spence take some big shots, and, you know, he might bug a little bit. You know, he might catch a surprise, but I ain't never seen Errol Spence get wobbled. Like, I ain't never seen him get, like, Bambi legs a little bit. And I know everybody trying to pick on Terence Crawford about Mean Machine and Gamboa, and even I've seen him Victor Postol. He ain't really get hurt in Victor Postol, but he took some clean shots, and I was just like, okay, I don't know how that look if you got hit by somebody else, but yeah, Errol Spence, he is very durable, like very durable. Someone who I compare him to is Kamaru Usman from the UFC. Like, Kamaru Usman, he's not the best striker, he's not the best grappler, he doesn't have the best kicks, he doesn't have the best boxing ability, but he's good enough in every aspect, and at the same time, he's strong and he's durable to the point to where he can mix it up and he can take those chances, because if he does get caught or if he does get hit with a good shot, he has the conditioning and the durability to take it and keep going. Which leads to my next point about Errol Spence is his physical conditioning and stamina. Like, there's not a lot of boxers that I see that can press forward and keep up the pressure and just keep the punches coming. Like, I think Sean Porter said it, it's like an avalanche. Like, it's really just building momentum, and the faster it's rolling down the hill, the faster it's going. So, you know, with Errol Spence, that is something to worry about. But in terms of how I think the fight will play out, so I think that Errol Spence will come out to a strong start. I think he'll work behind his jab. I think that he'll be very measured. I think he's going to keep the pressure up, but I think he's going to use more of his jabs and kind of see how Terence Crawford wants to move in those early rounds. Because Crawford is gonna have legs early on in the fight. He's gonna be, you know how they call it download the data. He's gonna be moving. He's gonna be you know, trying to measure Errol Spence out. He's gonna be using his feints. He's gonna be spinning them. You know, he's gonna be trying to keep his back off the ropes. And I do think Errol Spence will get out to a good lead. I think out of the first 4 or 5 rounds, he'll definitely win at least 3 of them. three to four, but just because of his activity and his pressure. Now, as the fight goes on, it's hard to say how it's going to go because, honestly, this fight is about as 50-50 as it can get. But at the same time, even with that knowledge of it being 50-50, I can literally see, like, each fighter beating the dog shit out of each other and it being one-sided. Like, I can really see that in my mind because it's like they say, styles make fights. And these two styles, and then just how Errol Spence say, you know, my mentality. You know, the mentality of the fighters, you know, they both got that mentality to kill, and they both got the mentality like, yeah, I'm better than you, and I'm a step to you, and if things getting sticky, you know, I'm gonna get myself out, and it's gonna get sticky for you. So in that sense, I do think this fight is 50-50, and it can go either way. But I think as the fight goes on, especially, and I really hope it don't go like that because it really can get ugly. Because I think that Terence Crawford's strongest point in this fight is in the mid-range. In the mid-range, I think that's when he's the most dangerous. I think that's when he can get the most torque on his shots. I think that's when he can counter the most effectively, you know, step out and get right back in and hit you with a shot that you don't see. But if Errol Spence can get past the mid-range with his jab and kind of give like a little quick step in and get his body to Crawford's body, because when you press up on Crawford, he either wants to tie up or he wants to spin out the ropes. But I don't really see a lot of fighters that and I'm not disrespecting his resume, but I haven't really seen a lot of fighters against Crawford that can cut the ring off. And he does get the ring cut off on him, and a lot of times when he do, from what I've seen, he wants to grab. But we all see Errol Spence. If you grab Errol Spence, more than likely he's gonna tie one of your arms up and he's gonna keep hitting you with the other hand. So it just depends. And if it gets to that point, it can get ugly for Terence Crawford. But at the same time, he might have enough power to like deter Spence from coming in altogether. But that's why I was getting to with Errol Spence. If Errol Spence can kind of like see his shots coming and, you know, either block them or just keep his guard up enough to where they're not like landing clean or flush on him, and then he can still kind of get behind his jab and get on the inside, I think that he can have a lot of success on the inside. And at that point, now, and it was funny because me and my grandpa this night, we were kind of like mock playing it up and seeing like what each fighter would do. And we just kind of got to the point to where at a certain point, Errol Spence is going to get inside because that's just his style. He's just a pressure fighter. You know, he's a come forward fighter, but also he establishes, and I like how he called it. I ain't never heard somebody call that game that. He said they call it passive aggressive. You know, he says he's a passive aggressive fighter. But me and my grandpa kind of came to the conclusion that once he kind of get inside and they tie up to that inside mid-range work, it's really going to come down, in my opinion, to who is the most physically strong fighter. And personally, I feel like Errol Spence is the most physically stronger fighter. I think he's more durable. And if it does get there and it's an obvious physical strength discrepancy between both the fighters, I'm not going to lie, but I could see Errol Spence breaking Crawford down and stopping him. And just moving forward, well, for my official prediction, I'm not sure that Errol Spence will stop Crawford, but I would not be surprised. And in terms of my prediction, I do think Errol Spence. I think Errol Spence will. Well, I'll stand on it. I think Errol Spence is gonna stop Terence Crawford. I think he's gonna stop him anywhere from rounds 10 to 12. I think it'll be hard. I think he will, you know, take some good shots. I think it will be a back and forth for certain rounds. But after a while, and just with Crawford's age and his legs, because honestly, I watched the Adesanya fight, and I get it. You know, he's more of a lower level opponent, so Crawford might not have been taking it as seriously or going as hard. But there was just moments in that fight where I felt like his legs didn't look how, like, Terence Crawford used to have very fresh and bouncy legs, have elite movement, and could keep that pace up. But just with his age and, like, you know, just the wear and tear from him fighting so long, I don't think his movement will be as effective this fight. And I also think that Errol Spence will definitely have been working on cutting the ring off and, like, you know, that approach. But one thing I will say, because this is one thing that I have noticed with Errol Spence as well. When he throw that backhand, he'll kind of like he'll be off balance a little bit, and sometimes his foot come off the ground and he finds himself squared up, and it's just a dangerous position to be in for a good counterpuncher like Terence Crawford. So along with my TKO stoppage between round 10 and 12, I do think that I do think that Terence Crawford will score a knockdown on Errol Spence. But I think that knockdown on Errol Spence will be what it takes to wake him up and let him realize, like, okay, I can't play with him. I can't be at this mid-range distance. I can't lunge. So I'm gonna have to really work to get on the inside. And when I do get there, I gotta break him. You know, what do you say? I'm gonna break him. You know, mentally, physically, damn near spiritually. So yeah, so that's my official prediction for Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. I got Errol Spence stopping him by TKO rounds 10 to 12. And I think it'll be a great fight. I think it'll be an amazing fight as long as it lasts. Like I said, I think this is going to be our generation's Sugar Ray Leonard versus Tommy Hearns. And I think this is a fight that people will be talking about 50, 60 years from now, because these two athletes, especially black athletes, because, you know, we don't really get a lot of black mega fights like we used to back in the day. And, you know, some people might say they're scared to fight each other. You know, I don't know why they don't fight each other, you know. But either way, I think it's going to be a great fight. Me and my grandpa, we probably going to hit a bar so we can go to the UFC to go watch that and the UFC, so we don't miss either one of them. And I really want to talk about UFC too, and I'm definitely going to on this channel, but this is just such a big week in boxing for boxing. And I kind of feel like it was disrespectful for Dana White to put a card as good as that at the same time as Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, but it is what it is. But I'm gonna try to watch both of them, and we're gonna, you know, see who wins, you know. And I don't got no dog in the race. Like, I don't think Errol Spence, that's not like my favorite fighter, and Terence Crawford's not my favorite fighter. I really missed the earlier parts of their career, because that was still kind of like in the Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather area, to where they were kind of more like underlooked. So I really don't got a dog in the race. I don't care. But I will say, I kind of would want Errol Spence to win, because I want to see if he fights Canelo. But that's for a whole nother video at a whole nother time. But anyway, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know if y'all think, you stupid, Terence Crawford gonna kill that boy. You're an Errol-sexual, you know, whatever. Just let me know. I don't care. You know, it's one off my back like a duck. But I appreciate y'all watching. This has been another episode of Next Gen Combat Sports TV, and I will see you guys later. Peace.